Welcome back. In the previous session, we have discussed in detail the concept of single entry system, its meaning, salient features, merits and demerits. And we also briefly discussed about the objectives of learning a single entry system of accounting. So let us discuss about the further theoretical aspects with regard to the same topic. Next one, types of single entry. Previously we mentioned or we have discussed about the concept of single entry, how a single entry system works, how a single entry system differs from the double entry system. So let us discuss the different types of methods of recording transactions in a single entry system. So first one, pure single entry system. Under this type, dual aspects of each transactions are ignored. We know that in single entry system we are not considering the two aspects. Sometimes we will consider, sometimes we won't consider, sometimes we won't even consider anything. So under this method, dual aspects of each transactions are ignored. Only personal accounts are considered. Personal accounts with regard to debtors and creditors are kept. All real and nominal accounts are not maintained, and the pure single entry system even ignores the important book that has to be maintained by a businessman, that is cash book. So a pure single entry means it records only personal account with regard to debtors and creditors. It won't record anything else. Even the cash books are ignored in pure single entry system. Only the details regarding the debtors and creditors, especially the personal accounts, are considered. And it doesn't consider any nominal accounts. Nominal accounts means expenses account, incomes account, like that. Real accounts means asset accounts, liabilities accounts, like that. So that is the concept of pure single entry. Next one, single entry in the popular sense. Apart from the pure single entry system, it is another method. Under this type, apart from maintaining personal accounts, some subsidiary books are also written up. I hope you all know what is meant by subsidiary books. You have learned about the subsidiary books in your +1 commerce accountancy. Subsidiary books means purchases account, sales account, purchase returns account, sales returns account, bills receivable accounts, bills payable accounts, etc. So these are some of the examples of subsidiary account. So in a single entry in popular sense method, apart from recording personal accounts, it also considers subsidiary books. But postings are made therefrom as relating to personal accounts only. Even though it considers subsidiary books, it only considers the recording or further recording or posting. Posting means recording the transaction from the concerned journal entries to the concerned books, from journal to the ledger. That is known as posting. At the posting time, it only considers the transaction with regard to personal accounts. In that case, it will not consider subsidiary books. And cash book, the most important subsidiary book, is usually maintained, which reflects real and nominal account. All these are done without applying the principles of double entry system. So these are the two major types of single entry system. So in simple sense, pure single entry means records only personal accounts, especially debtors and creditors. It doesn't record anything else. That is known as pure single entry. In single entry in the popular sense, it will record personal accounts and subsidiary books, including cash book. That is the difference between single entry system and a pure single entry system. So before we go further into that, let us discuss the differences between a single entry system and a double entry system. We all know what is meant by single entry, and we also know what is meant by double entry. But for the time being, let us go through the differences, simple differences between the single entry system and a double entry system. In single entry system, as we all know, it is an incomplete record of financial transaction, because sometimes it may record all the aspects, Sometimes it will record only one aspect. Sometimes it doesn't consider any aspect of a transaction, even it ignores a full transaction. Whereas double entry system is a complete record of financial transaction. We all know what is the meaning of double entry system. It means recording of two aspects of a transaction. We will record everything that is financial in nature in the concerned books. Both aspects of each transactions are not recorded. It sometimes may record, sometimes it won't record, likewise. So there is no uniformity regarding recording of transaction. Whereas in double entry system, both aspects of the transactions are recorded. Both aspects means a debit aspect and a credit aspect. Every transaction has a debit aspect and a credit aspect. In single entry system, personal accounts are maintained. See, there are different types of single entry, pure single entry and single entry in popular sense. In both cases, personal accounts are recorded. I hope you understand the concept, why they are recording personal. For example, if I am a small businessman, I need not have to record all the transaction. I might have expenses with regarding to payment of phone bill, payment of rent, like that. But I have to record to whom all have I lend my money. To those person which I have lent money, and from certain person from which I have borrowed money. That are the two major concepts that has to be considered in my mind if I am a small businessman. So I will record only such transaction. So to those person who I have lent the money, and from those person I have borrowed the money. These are the two person I will consider, or I have to consider. I doesn't have to consider about any other transaction, means spending money for tea or coffee or spending money for something else. I need not have to worry about that. I have to consider only for all those person to whom I have lent the money, because then only I can collect back from those person. Otherwise they might escape with that. That is why in a single entry system all the transactions are not recorded, only the personal accounts are recorded. And in case of creditors also, as a businessman I have to consider my debtors as well as creditors, because if I doesn't consider the debtors, or if I am not recording the details of debtors, they will cheat me. And at the same time, if I am not recording the details of the creditors, I might forget about the amount that has to be paid. They will come to my house and cause any issues. So in order to avoid those situations, I, as a single entry system following person, I will record only these two details. That is known as personal accounts. I need not have to worry about expenses or incomes. So that is the concept of single entry. So in a single entry system, only personal accounts are maintained, that we have mentioned earlier. Whereas in double entry system, personal accounts and impersonal accounts are maintained. Impersonal account means real accounts and nominal accounts. In single entry system, trial balance cannot be prepared. Yes, exactly. In order to prepare a trial balance, we need a complete record of ledger. For preparing ledger, we have to journalize all the transactions. In a single entry system, we are not journalizing all the transactions. So ledger accounts can't be prepared, and simultaneously we can't prepare a trial balance. Whereas in a double entry system, we are following a universally accepted method where we record all the transactions. We are recording journal entries. On the basis of that, ledger accounts are prepared, and on the basis of ledger accounts, trial balance also is prepared. So in double entry system, trial balance can be prepared. In single entry system, all financial statements cannot be prepared. Financial statement means preparation of trading account, profit and loss account, balance sheet. Since there is no proper ledger accounts, since there is no proper trial balance, how we are going to prepare trading, profit and loss account and balance sheet in single entry system? So all financial statements cannot be prepared. Whereas in double entry system, we can prepare financial statements. I hope you all learned about how to prepare trading, profit and loss account, balance sheet, like that. So we are not going further into that. So the next difference is single entry system is a suitable method of small enterprises, because they can't afford huge expenses for maintaining an accountant or following a double entry system. So they will definitely go for a single entry system. Whereas double entry system method is suitable method for small and large enterprises. Some situations small enterprises are there, but basically it will be followed by large enterprises. And finally, single entry system is not costly. We all know, we have discussed about that. It is an economical concept because we need not have to hire any accountant or a specialist for recording all transactions and preparation of statements, because it is not required in a single entry system. So it is not costly. Whereas double entry system, if we have an idea about how to prepare accounts, it's okay. But in most cases, the concern or the businessman has to appoint an accountant in order to perform all these activities. So it is a costly aspect. So double entry is costly. So these are the main differences with regard to a single entry system and a double entry system. I hope you have got an idea about what is the significant differences between these two methods. So let us go to the next area. Accounting procedures. Under single entry system, where only incomplete records are kept, the profit or loss can be ascertained by the following any one of the method given below. So how a single entry system following person or a businessman is going to find out the profit or loss of his business? So there are two methods. One is statement of affairs method or capital comparison method or net worth method. Statement of affairs, we have mentioned this term during the objectives heading. Statement of affairs, we will discuss in detail what is meant by statement of affairs method, otherwise known as capital comparison. Capital comparison means this term also we have mentioned about how to identify the profit in a single entry system following concern, because in that case the opening and closing capital, if we are comparing opening and closing capital, we can easily find out the profit or loss of a business that follows a single entry system. And here net worth, so this is a term you haven't heard in your lifetime, so remember, this is a term which we will be using in common in this semester and the semester which we are going to deal with in our future sessions. Net worth is another term of capital. So instead of capital, we will be using a term net worth. So remember, whenever I use the term net worth, that means it means capital. These terms are used synonymously. So this is one method, statement of affairs method and capital comparison method or net worth method. You have to familiarize about the terms with regards to the method, because in the question they may not specifically mention the statement of affairs method. It may use net worth method or a capital comparison method. So you have to familiar with these terms. This is one method. Another method is conversion method. So these are the two methods with regard to find the profit or loss of a business that follows a single entry system. So let us discuss in detail these two methods. First one, statement of affairs method. In statement of affairs method, actually under this method also there are two methods that has to be followed, because in statement of affairs is a common heading given to the coming two statements. Under statement of affairs there are two more statements. One is the same name, statement of affairs, and another statement is statement of profit and loss account. So the accounting procedure for identifying profit and loss account has two methods. One is statement of affairs method and one is conversion method. Under statement of affairs method also there are two statements. One is the same term itself, statement of affairs one, and second one is statement of profit and loss. We will discuss in detail about statement of affairs and statement of profit and loss with the statement and a practical case. So what is meant by statement of affairs? The single entry trader or a businessman desire to know the state of the affairs of his business, whether his business is earning profit or if it is earning loss. So he need to know about the position or a situation of business during the end of a financial year. That is the need of every businessman who conducting the business. They have the right to know whether they are earning profit or loss. This is ascertained by preparing a statement called Statement of Affairs. It is a statement setting out the assets and liabilities on a given date. It cannot be called a balance sheet because the amounts shown in it are not the extract of the ledger accounts as under double entry system. On the other hand, to prepare such a statement, information is collected from various sources. So that is the meaning of statement of affairs. So remember, there are two methods for identifying profit or loss. One is statement of affairs and conversion method. So from now on, I will be mentioning only statement of affairs case. Under statement of affairs, you have to prepare two statements. One is the same term itself, statement of affairs. Second one is statement of profit and loss. So in order to prepare statement of profit and loss, first of all you need to prepare a statement of affairs. Statement of affairs is similar to a typical balance sheet where there will be asset side, there will be liability side. But it doesn't mean that you can call that as balance sheet because it is not an exact details regarding assets and liabilities prepared on the basis of a general idea regarding the assets and liabilities during a period. But balance sheet is not like that. It is prepared on the basis of the correct balances from the ledger accounts. So a balance sheet is correct, but a statement of affairs, even though it is almost similar to the balance sheet, we can't say that it is a balance sheet. It is termed as statement of affairs. So in first method, you have to prepare two statements. In statement of affairs, you have to prepare two statements. One is the same term itself, statement of affairs. It is a typical balance sheet. We will come to the practical case, then you will get a clear picture. So how you are going to prepare a statement of affairs? We have mentioned that it consists of assets and liabilities. So a concern following a single entry system doesn't record all the transactions, doesn't have proper journal entries, doesn't have proper ledger account. Then how we are going to prepare a statement of affairs that is consisting assets and liabilities? In the last session and in the previous sessions, we have mentioned that single entry system doesn't record any real accounts. Real accounts means assets and liabilities. Then how we are going to prepare a statement of affairs? So for preparing statement of affairs, there are some preparations. So let us discuss in detail how a statement of affairs is prepared. So preparation of statement of affairs. In most cases, a cash book will be prepared. In most cases, the cash book should be balanced and cash in hand should be verified with the cash book balance. So first part is that one. So preparation of statement of affairs, you will be preparing a cash book, and on the basis of that, cash balance are verified. Bank balance as per cash book should be reconciled with the bank passbook balance. We will have some information about the bank details. If we are comparing the bank details with the passbook will be correct because it is prepared by the bank. They will be following a proper system. So on the basis of the passbook, we can get the details about the bank balance. So these two items can be identified. How we are going to identify debtors and creditors? So let us prepare a list of who all debtors are there and who all creditors are there, and on the basis of the personal accounts maintained, we can identify the total amount of debtors and total amount of creditors because we will be preparing personal accounts. So on the basis of that, we can identify debtors and creditors. Value of bills receivable and bills payable should be ascertained from the available records. Available record means if you are issuing a bill or if you are accepting a bill, there will be a proper record of bill receivable and bill payable. There will be a document. On the basis of that documents, we can also identify what all bills receivable have been issued and what all bills payable has been accepted. So such all information we have obtained. So these 4 items we have obtained. Still we need more items for the balance sheet, because at balance sheet we require cash, bank, assets, liabilities, capital. So next one, stock. It is the most important aspect for preparing a balance sheet. Stock in trade should be ascertained and valued at cost price or market price, whichever is lower. That is a basic universal rule. In our country also we follow like that. Stock is always recorded or valued at cost price or market price, whichever is the. So we almost got details of cash book, bank book, debtors, creditors account, bills receivable, bills payable, stock. Now we have to deal with only fixed assets, any liabilities, long-term liabilities, short-term liabilities, capital. So how we are going to identify those items? Value of fixed asset like plant, building, etc. should be ascertained from original vouchers or any other sources, because we have learned that we as a concern or a businessman following a single entry system don't record real accounts. So real accounts means assets or liabilities account. Without recording assets and liabilities, how we are going to identify the value of assets and liabilities? So there is only one source. Go through the original vouchers. If we have purchased a fixed asset, usually it will have a bill or a receipt. So on the basis of that, identify the value of assets. And in that case, if you are preparing statements, we have to identify the depreciation of the asset also. So depreciation at a fixed percentage should be provided on assets and balances should be arrived at. Depreciation has to be considered for identifying. Why we are preparing all this? We are preparing statement of affairs. For statement of affairs, why we are preparing statement of affairs? For identify profit and loss. In order to identify profit and loss, you need to identify expenses and incomes. So depreciation is a part of expense associated with fixed asset, so you need to identify that also. Next one, all outstanding expenses and incomes should be determined. Usually in every business there will be outstanding expenses and outstanding incomes. That has to be identified, either on the basis of any vouchers or on the basis of any contracts you can maintain. Next one, expenses paid in advance and income received in advance should also be provided. If there is an outstanding in the business, surely there will be a prepaid or advance payment in a business. These all are interrelated, I say. So these the details of these type of expenses and incomes has to be collected either through vouchers, through contracts or anything. It may be recorded anywhere, so identify that. Next one, loan from banks. Usually even if it is a small business, there will be a small loan from a bank or any loan has been acquired from any relatives or friends. It should be recorded and taken into consideration. And finally, and the most important one, it will not be easily identified through mere checking of an asset or a liability or a voucher or calling someone else or going through any of the records. It cannot be identified, and it is a most important item. It can be identified only by taking the balance. If you find out the total of assets and if you find the total of liabilities, you can see that there is a difference of a certain amount in the liability side. That difference will be capital. And this capital will be the opening capital. We will discuss about what type of capital, whether it is an opening capital or a closing capital. We will come to that part during the practical section. Anyway, remember this capital will be if we are preparing the details of the opening amount, it will be an opening capital. If you have prepared a statement of affairs on the basis of a detail by the end of a year, it is known as closing capital. We will come to that part, but the concept of preparing a statement of affairs is identifying the capital during the year. In 99% of cases, we are preparing statement of affairs to identify the capital. Sometimes the capital may be given. In that case, you have to identify some other important item. Anyway, the other items are current liabilities, fixed liabilities, capital, fixed assets, current assets. Only these items will be there. There are no other extra items with regard to balance sheet. So these things has to be considered while preparing a statement of affairs. So let us go to the next one. Next one means now we were discussing about statement of affairs method. Under statement of affairs, you have to prepare two statements. First one is statement of affairs itself. We have discussed in detail that concept. We will discuss about the practical area once we have discussed about the second step, that is statement of profit and loss. These two has to be prepared in order to identify the profit of a concern that followed a single entry system. So what is meant by statement of profit and loss account? The trading profit and loss account cannot be prepared from a single entry record because a concern following a single entry neglect all the nominal accounts. But an approximate figure of profit or loss can be obtained in an indirect way by comparing the figures of the capital at the beginning and at the end of the financial period. With the help of the statement of affairs at the beginning and at the end of the financial period, we can know the capital of these two dates. Now we have to ascertain the profit and loss. This is found out by preparing a statement called statement of profit and loss. I hope you understand the concept. In simple terms, statement of profit and loss means taking the difference between opening capital and closing capital. The value will be profit or loss. That is a concept. So how we are going to find opening and closing capital? That is prepared on the basis of statement of affairs. If you have prepared a statement of affairs on the basis of the information, that is information about the assets and liabilities during the beginning of a financial year, you will get the opening capital. If you prepare a statement of affairs on the basis of the informations relating to the end of a financial period, you can easily identify the closing capital. If you take the difference between the opening capital and closing capital, you will get the profit or loss during a period that follow, or of a concern that follows a single entry system. So that is the meaning of statement of profit and loss account. And there is a pattern for preparation. Remember, if the capital at the end of the year is greater than the capital at the beginning of the year, then the difference amount will be profit. Remember, if the capital at the end of the year is greater than, this is a sign, the capital at the beginning of the year, the difference amount will be profit. Whereas if the capital at the end of the year is less than the capital at the beginning of the year, then the difference amount will be loss. Remember this concept. I hope you have understand the concept and idea about it. So let us discuss about the pro forma statement of a profit and loss account. We have mentioned that statement of profit and loss, how it is prepared. So the pro forma of a statement of profit and loss account will be like this. It will begin with capital at the end of the year. It is obtained from the closing statement of affairs. From the closing capital or the capital at the end of the year, you need to add drawings during the year. From that, you need to deduct additional capital invested. Then you will get an amount. From that, you need to deduct capital at the beginning of the year, otherwise known as opening capital. So you will get an amount, profit or loss. I hope you understand the concept. If you get a positive amount, that is here, if you are getting a positive amount, it is a profit during the year. If you are getting a negative amount, it is a loss during the year. We will discuss this part during the practical case in detail. I hope you understand about the theoretical aspect about statement of affairs and statement of profit and loss and the performance statement of profit and loss account. Till now, we will discuss about the practical sessions in the next session. So just go through all these theoretical aspects. If you have any queries, please let me know. We will discuss about the further cases in the next session.